What's up, duelists? I know what you're thinking. Keegan, you swore an oath. You would never play this deck ever again. Keegan, how could you lie to us again and again and again? But I promise you guys, I swear to you guys, this is the last time I will ever play this deck. This is the last time I will ever touch Gladiator Beasts. I've got 4 banger replays for you guys, showing off the power of my brand new Gladiator Beast build. I showed this in a video a couple days ago, and I really like the way the deck handled. Not only is hoplomus like my favorite card in the metagame right now, but I actually really enjoyed how this deck did going second. You have double smashing, triple Book of Moon, heavy storm, typhoon, shrink. A lot of powerful spells that help you go second, as well as Icarus attack and compulsory to help you get back into the game if you've fallen behind. And then on top of that, you have Morphing Jar and Gorge, which also help you get back into the game if you fall behind. So the deck does a really good job going second, which not a lot of like meta decks can boast, I guess. And a lot of meta decks right now, it's like if you're playing the mirror, you don't really have like a unique edge or a unique advantage outside of like crazy tech cards that like people are just like slinging around. Now, a lot of people have been playing Morphing Jar lately. I believe every Blackwing list from RBET Moreno Valley that made it into top 16 had Morphing Jar in it. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure every single one had Morphing Jar in it. It's just a great card. I don't know what to say. It's just a really powerful card. In the sideboard, I'm trying some new strategy stuff out. I'm trying out siding the 2 Test Tigers. So far, I've brought them in one matchup. I'm not really sure if I'm liking siding them, but it's something I'm trying. I'm trying one My Body as a shield as an additional going second card. I'm trying Ancient Forest. This is a cool card. I'm trying these 2 cards instead of Burden of the Mighty. My Body as a shield can stop Gemini Spark and Hero Blast, and Ancient Forest can help me play through Raikos and Hamsters, which is really nice. Trap Dusty, Mind Crush, Dust Tornado, and then I'm also trying the Torrential Tribute. These 3, you gotta have them, and then I think Torrential Tribute you also gotta have. It's probably the best trap card in the format, and even though it's not really that good in the main of Glads, you have to have it sided for Blackwings and other decks like Frogs. I think it's just too good of a card to not include in your deck. That's just my personal opinion. I've got some banger replays. Let's go ahead and get into them. If you guys like this content, if you guys like Gladiator Beasts, you have to smash like. You have to subscribe because, you know, like, I need the support from the Gladiator community. All right, my first opponent is B the Weatherman. So we lose the rock, paper, scissors, which, like I said, is fine. I mean, this deck doesn't mind going second all that much. We open up with a pretty okay hand. It doesn't really beat monsters. But if my opponent has like a set monster and some back row, we can probably play a game that works out pretty well there. They start off with set 1 monster, and we draw Book of Moon, so that's our way of beating a monster, which is nice. So I don't really want to commit too much into a Raiko here. I don't want to summon my only monster into a Raiko and attack it. So I'm just going to set my worst card, which is Space Typhoon. Positionally, if they have a set Raiko, which is, I don't know why I'm assuming that, but if they have a set Raiko, if I set Space Typhoon, they blow up my Space Typhoon, that's fine because I have Heavy Storm. So the Space Typhoon is kind of superfluous, and because they have no back row anyway, Space Typhoon and Heavy Storm and Trap Stun, having all 3 of these is very bad. Like, so I'm cool with it trading with like their spot removal. If they go for something, they're gonna have to blow up my back row, so I'm gonna try to trade out Space Typhoon. I think it's the worst card in my hand, so I set Space Typhoon and just pass. They draw for turn, they sacrifice Sankin for Caius, and they have an immediate significant advantage. Not only are they going to be able to search off Sankin, but they're going to be able to banish my Space Typhoon, and they're just going to be up their life. They're going to have 7 cards to my 5, which is really good. That's a really good setup for them. They search for Battle Fader, which is interesting. Normally, decks that search for Battle Fader are plant decks, like quick draw plant decks. So I'm thinking, okay, I can probably come back into the game versus that, and Battle Fader is functionally a minus anyway, so it's only like they have 6 cards to my 5. And then here, they actually make a really aggressive play where they pitch dupe, special swap. And I don't really understand this, but then again, I know he's not really playing, he's not really playing around me being on Glads, because not a lot of people are playing Glads right now, so why wouldn't you do this, you know? Like, what deck really punishes you for doing this? He sends Freeborn, attacks with both monsters, 1,000, 2,400, a lot of damage, definitely a threatening situation, and then bounces the Caius. We pick up War Chariot, and you can kind of see where this game's headed, like, our in-engine stuff beats the shit out of this, and he spent his advantage to bounce his Caius back to his hand, so he outed his own threat for us, which is really nice. So I Gladiator Proving Ground for Laquari, Laquari attack over Swap Frog. The reason we go Laquari is because it's the most damage. Tag out into Ready Ari, And then Ready can banish the Treeborn. Now, if he does have Junk Synchron, he can summon that and use no effect and try to attack over the Ready. But I will have Book of Moon to stop it. So thankfully, that Book of Moon is going to protect our Ready at least for one turn. And then next turn, we can attack into the Fader with Chariot, and we just win, basically. So I set 4, I pass. I didn't feel the need to set the Trap Stun because he's had no back row this whole game, and I just don't think he has it now. He just passes a turn, and at this point in time, the opponent has a brain malfunction. He just starts special summoning Battle Fader during the main phase. And then he does this another 400 times. I don't understand what he was doing. Something about Gladiator Beasts. It broke his brain. It actually broke his brain. But this is the strength of Gladiator Beasts, and this is why I think they need to exist in the metagame, because they check bullshit decks like frogs. Like, if you try to get too cute with your Swap Frog, your shenanigans, try to lean too heavily on Battle Faders, monster effects, the deck with the in-engine DD Crow, aka Gladiator Beast Ready is going to come around and just beat you up. And I think that's why I think we need to see more Gladiator Beasts right now. It's because there's too many frogs. There's too many of these guys right here. We need to drop the price of Subsitoad by having more people play Gladiator Beasts. Because, yeah, I said whenever you're done, we can continue. But he just keeps going. He just keeps going. You guys don't understand. He just keeps going. And then I said, you seem really upset. It's just a game. Be the weatherman. It's just a game. And then he blocked me on all of my accounts. The saltiest DB random. All right, I promise the other games are real matches. You gotta like and subscribe for the frog player getting absolutely destroyed after having the nut start going first by literally just one Laquari. Who would win, the entire frog deck or one Laquari? That is the question I'm asking you. All right, next matchup versus that boy Dizzy. All right, we win the rock, paper, scissors. So even though this deck does a good job going second, it actually does a pretty damn good job going first as well. Once again, we open up with Space Typhoon, Heavy Storm, and I'm like, well, that's alright. We can just set 3. I don't really care. My Heavy Storm can be dead this game. If they can fight through my 3 back row, then cool. And if not, then alright. And we have set hoplomus. And this is why I like this deck so much, because so much in this metagame is so fast. They're trying to summon Stratos, summon Alias, just summon Grepher, Armed Wing, like just trying to shove damage so quickly. Blackwing's attack so quickly. And one thing about hoplomus is he's like the perfect way to just say no. You know what I mean? He's the perfect way to just say, I am going to chill, and there's nothing you can do about me chilling right now. He's the most chill card in the format, and that's why I'm playing 3 with 3 Proving Ground, because I just want to set hoplomus, and I want to vibe. I literally just want to hang out and play Edison format for a longer duration. All these aggro decks, all these combo decks, no thank you. I want to chill behind a hoplomus and hang out. That's it. So, yeah, that's what happens. We just chill out behind hoplomus. Opponent sets 1, sets monster. End phase, we Typhoon. Draw for turn, it is Shrink, which is an excellent draw here because it gives us yet another spot removal spell. I'm going to summon the Equest, and I'm going to say, fuck it, you don't have shit. So I'm going to attack with my Equest, attack with my hoplomus, and we are going to connect for 700, which is just the beauty of this boy. You get in that 700 damage, and you're like, you know what? I like this card. And then we tag out. Equest first into Ready. I make an interesting decision here. I go Ready, and I go Laquari, I believe. Yeah. I had a couple of options. I could have gone Equest to bluff Icarus attack, but I think just banishing the Plague and having a 2100 boy is better, because if he summons Zombie Master, then I don't want to be forced to use a removal spell on it. Anyway, I set the Shrink and I pass. He summons Gale and he halves my Laquari, and I'm like, oh shit, that's pretty good, because the Gale can do some work here. And then he sets 2 back row, and then he just passes the turn. I'm like, oh, alright, guess you don't want to swing. Which I think, obviously we have the removal spell for it if he does swing, so it's not the worst case scenario for him, but that's the power of these spells, and that's why I'm playing so many spell cards in my deck, as you can see, is because they can be used defensively to protect your monsters, and they can be used offensively to start attacking through your opponent's big monsters. So that's why I like these spells. That being said, I'm just going to go for Geyserus here. I grab Bestiari. So what my game plan here was I could summon Bestiari, try to bait Bottomless, and then have Book of Moon or Shrink to protect my Bestiari, but I didn't really want to spend my Book of Moon and my Shrink that way. So I think I'm just going to set the Bestiari, and then I'm going to go Geyserus, and I'm going to target Gale only, and just blow up the Gale. Because I don't want to play into Starlight Road, A, and B, I don't, like, he's going to chain, like, if he has Bottomless, he'll Bottomless my Geyserus, but that's fine. And then I can just go Rediari, tag into whatever else, you know? And then I still have Shrink plus Book. So I'm still chilling. I think that's the best play. It's the most conservative play. So that's what I went for. I could have baited the Bottomless here, but I figured there was no real reason to. Oh, sorry, not Rediari. Laquari, my bad. I left the Laquari in play because I could book it and then flip it and have an 1800 stat monster if he Solemns my Geyserus, basically. So yeah, I go for the Geyserus, try to blow up the Gale, and he chains Bottomless before letting me target. And because he activated the Bottomless so quickly, I felt confident that he didn't have Road, so I targeted his middle set as well. And I blow up both, revealing that he is on Zombies with Book of Life. So that's good to know for our sideboarding pattern. He probably shouldn't have set that card just because it's telling me a lot, and he's probably lost this game. So we attack for 1050, tag out, we go get our boy Darius because he's the next strongest Gladiator beast that isn't Laquari. That's literally it. That's the only reason we got him, it's just because he's strong. Set monster pass, we draw War Chariot, and that should be the game. So normally here you wouldn't attack if you didn't have the War Chariot, but because I have the War Chariot, I feel pretty confident attacking. I'm going to attack into Tomato, he's going to grab Sangan. And what I'm actually going to do here is, because I know there is a deck that has played Zombies and Mark of the Rose, I'm going to go into Rediari once more. And with Rediari, I'm going to banish that Mystic Tomato, because I don't want to get Mark of the Rose. I feel like that's one way I could lose this game, is getting my monster Mark of the Rose. I'm forced to book it, then he can run it over. Just like all that awkward shit. Or he could sack for Caius afterwards, you know. So I just want to play around Mark of the Rose. And I also want to play around Dark Arm Dragon, because we don't have a clean answer to Dark Arm Dragon right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to banish Mystic Tomato, hopefully play around Dark Armed, hopefully play around Mark of the Rose. As you can see from his hand, it's neither of those things. So we're just going to banish that Mystic Tomato, set the War Chariot, and pass. He does draw Pyramid Turtle, and I have a couple of options here. When he attempts to crash, I could Shrink, then Chariot the effect, tag into a quest, add back the Chariot, which is not a bad move. But it leaves him with a zombie in the graveyard, so he could potentially do something main phase 2. I'm not really sure what, but... So I was like, I'll just book it and not really worry about it. I think in hindsight, I probably could have used Shrink plus War Chariot, but I don't really know. I booked it. He passes. We draw Bottomless, which is a great draw. We attack over Sangan. Chariot the Sangan effect. Tag into eQuest. Add back the Chariot. Set 3 to blur the Chariot where it's set. He summons Zombie Master. We Bottomless the Zombie Master because I don't want to get attacked over, and I actually really want that guy to get banished in case he has Dark Arm Dragon. He passes a turn. We draw Icarus, which is a beautiful draw. We're going to go eQuest, Chariot his effect, tag into Rediari, banish the Pyramid Turtle in case he has Foolish for Mizuki, set Icarus attack, and pass. So here comes Mizuki. It's going to attack. We're going to use Shrink. Like I said, offensively and defensively, the spell cards are good. And then we're able to tag into eQuest here, grab back our Chariot, and he sets 2 and passes. Now, I could have played this game a billion different ways, but I think the way we played it played around the most and gave us the most versatile options. We have a couple of options here. We could Icarus as 2 back row, we could Heavy Storm as 2 back row, or we could just play into his 2 back row, which I elect to do, and that's going to be the concession for game 1. So against Zombies, the way I like to side is I like to side in the second Rediari. I think that card's pretty important versus Zombies. And I like to side out. Usually, it's tricky, because Zombies is a tricky matchup for a couple of reasons. I like to side out one hoplomus versus Zombies going second, because they do have Caius. So I like to side that guy out for the Rediari. I also like to sometimes side out Morphing Jar, because I think Morphing Jar is a way that they can get back into the game. And I do like Dust Tornado versus Zombies, because the way they beat you is not their monsters. You beat up on their monsters. Like, your monsters are stronger, and you can banish them. So your monsters, the monsters you're not so worried about, it's really the back row that you're worried about. So Dust Tornado comes in, it's pretty good. I also don't hate my Body as a Shield, but it's kind of hard to bring it in the dark before knowing their full lineup. And then I also don't hate Torrential Tribute over Mirror Force, because oftentimes they will go for Brownic if they're going to beat you anyway. But I do like Mirror Force because oftentimes the way that they'll play the middle game is they'll need something like Zombie Master or Thunder King Ryo, and they'll need to attack over your monsters and just play a fair game. And in that case, I think Mirror Force is still fine to keep in. So I sided out something else. I don't remember what I sided out. It might have been a smashing. Yeah, it's a smashing ground. So I side out one smashing ground versus zombies going second because they, like I said, their monsters are not that important. I sided out one hoplomus, and I think I sided out Morphing Jar. And I brought in Ready Ari, Dust Tornado, and Torrential Tribute. I think that that's like the best way to side versus this deck. With my current sideboard, obviously you can do stuff with a more advanced sideboard. Another thing I'm not siding anymore is Dimensional Fissure. I found that that card was never really that good, so I just stopped siding it. Honestly, I think the second Ready Ari is just better. We draw Ready Ari here, which is pretty good. I'm just going to send it. He has Deep Prison. But this is fine because now we have the initiative to set our trap cards, and he hasn't committed to the board. So we have all the initiative here. I'm going to set Trapstone and Chariot. The reason I set these two is because next turn I want to make a play. Well, let's talk about the different scenarios we could run into. First scenario is he Heavy Storms me. I lose Trapstone and Chariot. That is a 2-for-1, but I can get Chariot back. So I'm not too worried about losing the Chariot. Setting 2 here also baits the Heavy Storm. It also says it gives him a juicy 2-for-1, which is something he might want to do. You know, he might want a Heavy Storm. And if he does Heavy Storm me here and go for like a little play, we've got Icarus to come back into the game, and we've got Compulsory to come back into the game. So we have ways to like come back from a lost position. And then if he doesn't have Heavy Storm, let's say he has more trap cards, I'm going to want the Trapstone set for next turn, because when I go for my play, I'm going to need Trapstone to protect it. And if he doesn't set more trap cards because he doesn't have any, he just sets a Recruiter, I want the Chariot set, so that when I go for my play over his Recruiter, I can Chariot it, and then I can tag into Equest and add back my Chariot. So that's why this is the best play here, to set these two. He sets 2 back row and passes, sets 3 back row actually and passes, and I'm like, well, that's great for us because we have our Trapstone set, so we can pretty much go for anything safely. I'm going to Proving Ground for Equest. I made a small error here. I should have set Icarus attack first to play around Trap Dust Shoot, but if he's a good player, he'll side out Trap Dust Shoot versus Glads anyway. So, but yeah, it's a small error. I should have probably set first just to play around it. Equest is going to attack, and he's just going to do nothing, which is, in my opinion, very shocking, simply because he has Mirror Force set. You'll notice he has Mirror Force set. So I don't really understand why he didn't Mirror Force me. Like, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I tag out my Equest, I grab Bestiary, and I'm like, well, this is safe because the Equest was safe. And I'm going to blind target one of his back row, and I just picked the Mirror Force. And here I was very confused. I was just like, what the fuck? Why didn't he try? I mean, we have Trapstone, so it's like, you know, it's fine for us, but like, why did he not why did he not at least attempt it? Like, I don't, like, did you just want to lose your Mirror Force for no reason? Like, I don't get it. You need to clear my monsters in order to play the game. Why not use the removal spell that is designed to clear my like, what are you waiting for? I don't understand. There isn't a better opportunity to use Mirror Force than when I am attacking you with the monster that beats you. I don't understand. And then he says must be nice, which, so first off, it's interesting that he says this because that means he's not only telling me what his other 2 back row are, but he's telling me that he got greedy and didn't use the Mirror Force because his other 2 back row are chainable. So now I know his other 2 back row are chainable. So him complaining tells me exactly what his 2 sets are. It's Typhoon, Dust Tornado. And I know that, so I feel comfortable setting Icarus attack and passing if he goes for Dust Tornado. I assumed it was Double Dust or like Wind Blast or something like that. Something that outed a monster, because he didn't use the Mirror Force to out the monster. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know they're both chainable, basically. So end phase, I expect him to do something, and then I can just Trapstone it. Alas, he goes for Typhoon on the Icarus, which is pretty bad for me. I needed that to stick around. Now, like, normal summon Zombie Master is actually really bad for me. He finds Plague, which is okay. This is actually my preferred situation, because I have Compulsory to out the Synchro. And if I draw a monster, my Bestiary is in the grave, and I can attack into the Bestiary, attack into the Synchro, book the monster. Darius back my Bestie, and then Geyser is him main 2. He Synchros into Gaia, attacks for 26, passes the turn. We draw a monster, so we get to do that exact play that I talked about. Attack, book his monster, we take 100, and then we tag into Darius. Darius grab back Bestiary, shuffle back into Geyserist. Geyserist blow up his 2 cards, and then he's going to chain Dust Tornado, but I'm going to use Trap Stun again to stop that Dust Tornado, protect my Chariot. And I'm going to set the Compulsory and say, fuck it. If you have Heavy Storm, he needs to have Heavy Storm Caius, which would be Heavy Storm, stack the 3rd card for Plague, sack it for Caius. Which, okay, if he has it, he has it. Or he needs to have Heavy Storm Brain Control, which, of course, you know, if he has it, he has it. So if he goes for Heavy Storm, I'm actually strongly considering compulsorying my own monster, because that way he can't go for Caius, and he also can't go for Brain Control. So I was thinking, like, okay, if he goes Heavy Storm, I should probably compulsory my own Geyserist. He goes Allure of Darkness, banishes Goblin Zombie. He goes Foolish Burial, sends Goblin Zombie, and then tries to search Zombie Master. So that's not how this card works. This card needs to be sent from the field to the graveyard. Can't be sent from the deck to the graveyard. And I have a feeling my opponent knew what he was doing, because when I hit him with the question marks, he left the game. So I have a feeling he was trying some shit, you know. But alas, here we are. Turns out he did have Caius, but he did not have the Heavy Storm, so he wasn't able to do anything. He could have stacked for Plague, sacked for Caius, but then we would have had Chariot. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Anyway, that was game 2, or the second match versus Zombies. I think Gladiator Beast fucking destroys Zombies, so there's that. Next match versus Happy Pills. Happy Pills is a strong player. He plays in a lot of the 8-mans. He's not exactly a DB random, even though I did find him in a DB random match. He's actually a lot better than the last 2 players. So this is an exciting match. He's playing a very meta deck, probably one of the most played decks as of right now. So it's exciting to see this sort of matchup. As you can see, I have opened the nuts, which is Morphing Jar and 5 back row and Starlight Road. So guess what happens here, folks? I'm not going to think. I am simply going to set 4 and Morphing Jar. I didn't set Book of Moon because I didn't want to tell Morphing Jar, you know, even though it's still pretty obvious. But yeah, he goes for Heavy Storm. We have Road. Understandable risk, but I mean, usually when people set 4, they have Road, so that's just going to happen. He goes for set 2, pass the turn. I set 1, set another one, flip Morphing Jar, and draw 5 brand new cards, discarding his Gores and his Trag and his Brain Control. So an insane opening hand from 4 limited cards, and they're all gone thanks to our broken Morphing Jar. This card is insane. It's so unfair. It like punishes people for no reason. So yeah, we get to draw 5 new cards. On resolution, he hits us with a Spiritual Water Art, which is kind of silly because our hand is so bad, but I still want to protect it. And Trap Stun's probably not going to get a lot of value, and I do want to be able to set my compulsory this turn, so I'm just going to use the Trap Stun to trade 2 for 1 into the Spiritual Water Art. So on top of getting a +5, or +3 technically because I gave him 2 new cards, I'm also getting a +1 off the Trap Stun on the Spiritual Water Art. Now I do want to talk about Spiritual Water Art. I think this card is bad. Like I just actually think this card is bad. You have to sacrifice a monster that's in play, which means you've either given up your turn of utilizing your Treeborn, or you have to sacrifice a very real card, like this, or a Swap Frog, or something like that. And then on top of that, it just makes you weaker to, I don't know, certain things. Attacking the hand with frogs it's not really where you want to be. You want to attack the field. That's how I feel about this deck. I mean, Thestalos is a good way to do it, because it progresses your board while also attacking the hand. If you're going to play something that attacks the hand, I think Thestalos is better than Spiritual Water Art. But Spiritual Water Art, I just think this card is bad. Usually, if you're playing against like another deck with frogs, it's not one card you're afraid of. It's the conglomerate of all their cards. And then having to sack something like a Dupe Frog it's pretty bad. Like, it's not a good situation for you to be in. Anyway, we summon Ready Ari. I need to get him back in the deck. That's just the way this goes. I attack for 1200. He says Mans has plot armor, and I said I'm invincible. Because I am. When I play Morphing Jar, I feel like there is nothing that I can lose to, because I will just draw 5 new cards multiple times. Spoiler alert. Stardust Dragon's going to attack for 2500. Ready Ari's going to tag out into Laquari. We're going to set that compulsory. I probably should have shotgunned the Proving Ground first, but I didn't really care. Here he's going to summon Stratos, activate the effect. I don't have a Chariot. Oh, I do have a Chariot, but I don't want to Chariot this and then him having Miracle Fusion. That'd be really annoying. So, like, I'm just going to let him do his thing. He's going to attack my jar, and I'm just going to book my jar and draw 5 new cards. Again, this card is so busted. Like, it's actually so ridiculous. And it's so insane versus frogs, too, because they don't set shit. Like, I've drawn a million cards versus him in this game. I'm just up so much. Look at this. I have fucking 6 cards in play, 5 cards in hand. And he just has 5 cards in hand. I have I'm up 6 cards versus him. Like, that's an unreal advantage. Not only am I up 6 cards, but, like what can he do? What can he do? How can he beat Chariot, Compulsory, Stardust? Like, this is, like, an insane board to break through. Even if he breaks through this, it would probably take him all 6 of his cards. And then I just have 6 new cards after my draw step. Main phase 2, he E-calls for Alias, still having a target, passes the turn. We draw Bottomless. I go ahead and Proving Ground for Bestie, tag into Geyserus, blow up his guy, and we have game with War Chariot here through Battle Fader. So, yeah. Pretty crazy shit. I mean, Morphing Jar is just a fucking insane card, and it's, like, just really, really good in this deck, especially when people aren't attacking your sets because they're scared of hoplomus. Game 2. How did I side versus this deck? So versus Frog Hero, I side a little differently than versus Frogs. I actually don't bring in the Super Polys at all. I just bring in Rediari and Dushu and Torrential, and I side out Typhoon and Heavy Storm. While they do have applications, I think it's fine to side those 2 cards out. And then I sided out one other card. I forget. Might have been Trapstone. Yeah, I think I sided out those 3, and I brought in Torrential and Dushu and Rediari. I don't think you need to complicate it versus Frogs too much. Like, you just beat the shit out of this deck. He goes Substitute, Sacrifice, Swap Frog, send Treeborn, set back row, pass. And what blows my fucking mind is he actually left in the Water Arts. This card is so bad, and it's especially bad versus Glads because my deck is bad. So, like, what are you going to do? Discard one of my Hoplomus? Like, what does this do? Now, I think he makes an error here. He probably believes that Water Art is like Dust Shoot, and that it can only discard monster cards because he chooses to discard Darius, which doesn't make any fucking sense. Discard the Torrential. Like, always hit the Torrential here. That card is an FTK versus Frogs, but alas, here we are. Hoplomus, get him back in the deck, deal 700, tag into Rediari, banish that Treeborn Frog. This is our first Rediari. We have a second one in case something happens to this little guy. We're just going to set Book of Moon and pass. I'm not going to expose my Torrential because, like I said, this is a win condition, and so you don't want to expose it. He just sets 1, passes. I'm just going to attack for 12. That's going to connect. I'm going to be able to tag out, grab eQuest, add back my Darius, and that Spiritual Water Art looking real silly now. Main phase 2, just pass. We don't really need to do anything here. He goes Dust Tornado. I chain Book to play around Brain Control. He doesn't have Brain Control, but he does have, like, Miracle Fusion and shit. If I was him, what I would have done here is actually taken this as an opportunity to resolve my Miracle Fusion, because if I can clear this Alias, then I'm going Rediari every single day of the fucking week, and I'm banishing the Alias, so yeah. Also, one thing he probably should have done was consider setting his Regeki Break. He has a lot of superfluous cards in his hand that do nothing. You don't need this many cards to win versus Glads, you just need to stick 1 threat. So, Regeki Break will help you do that. I go ahead and summon Darius, attack Shrink, and then, yeah, keep him off Miracle. Just tag into that Rediari. Always keep them off Miracle. Just keep banishing their cards. I set Proving Ground here because I'm predicting something like Heavy Storm, but I get punished for this because he has Evil Guy off the top for Caius. And this is going to banish my Rediari. And this is pretty bad for me because I have no out to resolve Caius. And like I said, like, he should have set that Regeki Break because, like, you don't need more than just 1 Caius to win usually. We draw Gores, which is really nice. I Proving Ground for Hoplomus, and then I think for a little bit, and I pass. He's not predicting Gores. There's no way. He attacks into it. Here we are. Main phase 2, he sacks Gores, Caius on my Gores, and then sets the Regeki Break, or he sets Dust Tornado and not the Regeki Break, and passes. Again, should have set the Regeki Break, because now you just lose your position and you lose the game. I summon Hop. I attack. If he had the Regeki Break set here, he pops the token and I lose immediately on the spot. As it stands here, I can banish his hero, and he can't even Miracle Fusion, and now his hand's just completely dead. He draws Return. He sets the Regeki Break now, but it's too little too late. It's not doing anything at this point. We draw Solemn. I have Bestiari. I tag into Geyserus, blow up his back row. He chains it, but it, like I said, it's too little too late. At this point, I have Solemn, and next turn, I'm going to take over the game. So, yeah. We draw Call, which is really good, because Geyserus is in the grave. This guy's interesting. It says when this card is special summoned, so if you Call of the Haunted it, you can blow up cards, which is really nice. I go Hop, I attack for 700, and I want to represent lethal next turn, so I go Darius, bring back a quest, and I set Call of the Haunted. He draws return. He summons Stratos. He activates, searches evil guy. He attacks. I wait for the battle phase to use Call of the Haunted to make sure he doesn't have absolute 0 before the battle phase. Call the Haunted on Geysers. Geysers blow up his Stratos. He has one card he can play to sort of break us up here. But if he doesn't have a card to play, then basically he needs 2 cards because we have Solemn. I draw Smashing Ground. Doesn't matter what I draw because it's getting discarded to Heraklinos. 10 times out of 10. We make Heraklinos. He sets a monster, passes. We attack over both. We tag into some guys. I tag back into that Red Yari. Keep that hero banished. Don't want to be forced to negate a Miracle Fusion. And then, yeah. He just goes Brain Control. We negate that. And we know the rest of his hand is Evil Guy plus an unknown card. And we can just Solemn the unknown card and we win. Yep. Spiritual Water Art, kind of mid. I think this would have been a very different game had he set the Regeki break earlier. I think he just didn't understand this matchup. And this matchup is really just stick a threat because the Glad monsters on their own can't get over a threat. And that's something he messed up. But that tiny error, like I said, we just need more Glad players so we can punish Frog players. Like, this is just deserved, honestly, based in deserved victory for us. But yeah, we said GG's. And then the last match I want to show you is versus Shark Noob, who has the best username of all time. I've said this before on stream, but I'm saying it again in a video. Shark Noob is the funniest username, I think. I don't think it gets funnier than this username. It's just hilarious. Anyway, he goes set back row pass. You know what we're doing. You know what we're doing. But then, hold up, the game gets crazy. The game gets crazy. All right, so he says, you want to play this game? Okay, I'm going to set 5 as well. And now I'm like, oh, shit. Well, we have Heavy Storm. We can completely neutralize, then draw 5. You know, we could do that. But let's see where we're at. He summons Cyber Valley, and I draw Laquari, and I'm like, okay. Okay, game plan, I think, has to be Heavy Storm. I think it has to be Heavy Storm and just hope he doesn't have Road. Because if he has Road, we're kind of boned. So I go for Smashing Ground, and then I go for Heavy Storm, and he thinks for a long time here. I'm gonna give you the real-time replay. And then he chains some stuff. I'll just say it. He chains some stuff. Some Secret Barrel. Okay, so we're going to take some damage. Reckless Greed, he's going to draw 2. Accumulated Fortune, he's going to draw another 2. Chain Strike, we're going to take a bunch of damage. That's another 2,000 on top of this. And then we're going to take 3,200 damage. Blow up a Dimension Wall, which is good. But we are going to lose 3 of our background. He's going to draw a full hand. Now, normally, in this circumstance, I would be dead lost. But, ironically, Morphing Jar, the one time it's good against Burn, summon Laquari, flip it, draw 5 new cards. And all of a sudden, we're back in this bad boy. This card is so ridiculous. I don't know why it is ever legal. Because it's just such a ridiculous card. It's so stupid. Anyway, we're able to attack for 18 and attack for 700. He has no Battle Fader. We can tag into Bestiary now to represent Icarus and also a Geyserus next turn. Also, if he goes for Lava Golem, we can bring it back with Darius, with a Darius tag, basically. So, he's locked out of his draw step. We have Solemn Judgment for anything if stuff starts to get too crazy. This was 1 out of 2 for Reckless. He sets 2 background passes. And I'm like, okay. We draw Trapstone, which is an FTK versus this deck. We summon a quest. We tag into Geyserus, blow up both. He chains Scapegoat, which will give him another turn in terms of life points, but it's just really, really bad for him at this point. Run over 2 of the tokens, tag out, we get double Laquari, set that Trapstone, and yeah, he's just going to be cooked here. He's going to try to go for all of this in the draw phase, and we're just going to chain Trapstone, and that's going to be that. So, Morphing Jar, insane card. Probably shouldn't be legal, but yeah, I think we're going to start to see more and more Morphing Jars moving forward, just because of how good that card is, and how much people have been sleeping on it. Anyway, draw for turn from Shark Noob. He's going to set 5, set a couple. He doesn't set 5 quite yet. We open up okay. Like, we have Hoplomus. We can tag him into a Bestiary, which is what I intend on doing. So this game, the name of the game is How Do We Lose, right? And how do you lose versus Burn? You get 2 passive with your resources. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. Hoplomus attacks for 700. We tag into Bestiary. And then we blow up a back row. You can't play Afraid when you're playing against Burn. You have to play you have to burn your stuff because you never know, like, first off, burning your stuff is good versus secret barrel and just desserts. And then second off, if you play too, like, oh, I'm going to set hoplomus, I'm going to chill out, set a bunch of monsters, that just gives your opponent a lot of time to find the critical mass of burn that they need in order to beat you. And then on top of that, you also play into Lava Golem, which is like public enemy number 1 for Gladiator beasts. So our game plan is to play cards as soon as we can and as often as we can. And then from there, play around Lava Golem. That's the two things we got to do. So I set 3 and then I pass. He just passes. So he plays around Icarus attack very nicely here, which is good for him because I would have definitely shotgunned this Icarus attack. Now we have a lot of options here, but I think the best option is to go Proving Grounds into Laquari and then attack with both. Put him under a clock. Say, you got to start doing stuff right now, If he goes for Fader, we have Chariot, and then we can tag Laquari into whatever, or we tag Bestiari into Laquari, and then we tag Laquari into Bestiari, blow up his back row, and then we can tag into Geyserus main phase 2 to play around Lava Golem. So that's the game plan. We go attack for 15. He just takes it. He doesn't have the Fader. Takes 18. Tag out the Bestiari first. Grab Laquari. Tag out Laquari. Grab Bestiari. Blow up the back row. He chains it. It's Jar of Greed. That's totally fine. And then, like I said, play around Lava Golem. Tag into Geyserus. And then pass the turn. So we have double book. We have an Icarus that's live because this is a Wing Beast. And we have a Chariot. And we're playing around Lava Golem. So it's pretty good. He's going to go ahead and set 5. Now, I thought for a really long time there about end phase Icarusing, but I thought I need to have another monster that can tag before I safely go for that end phase Icarus. I had sided in the Test Tigers in this matchup because you'll notice we have some dead cards. Mirror Force, they're never really attacking us. Morphing Jar, even though it was very good game 1, it's not usually good versus burn, so I sided it out. And there's a few other cards that I sided out too as well, like Gores were never really getting attacked, that type of thing. And I brought in just Test Tigers, Secutor, Dust Tornado, that vibes. I think there was one other card. I think I sided out a Road, if I remember correctly. I don't remember correctly, but if I did. Yeah. So, what did we do here? Yeah, we just let it happen. We let him set 5, and we said, fuck it. We're going to attack. If he has D-Wall or if he has Cylinder, well, he already used the Cylinder, and it's limited in this format, so if he has D-Wall, we'll book it, is basically my game plan. He has Fader, but I'm going to Chariot that, because again, I want to deal a lot of damage. I want to close it out. I want to get really aggressive. I want to spend my cards so that he can't secret barrel me for a lot. I want to deal 2,400, tag out, go grab Equest, go grab Laquari. And the reason I tag out here is because I do have Test Tiger. So I'm going to Test Tiger into Bestiari, and I'm going to make Geyserus again, basically. Add back the Chariot, special Test Tiger, sacrifice to target Laquari, grab Bestiari, try to blow up a back row. He goes for Chain Dust Desserts, chain a bunch. He gets to draw 5 new cards here, but he only deals us 1,000. And then we can go ahead and tag into Geyserus and blow up his last back row. So he has 6 cards, but we're at 7,000. And it's really hard for them to deal 7,000 with 6 cards. And he's draw locked thanks to Reckless. So he has 2 turns where he just doesn't get to do anything. And now because he has 2 turns where he doesn't get to do anything, if he sets new back row, I absolutely am going to Icarus attack them. Even though I don't have a monster yet, he's draw locked and he needs these back row. And I have 2 full turns to draw into that monster because he's draw locked. So I am going to go for the Icarus, hitting the middle and the other one. I don't know, I just picked random ones. And it worked out really well because we did draw a monster. So I was able to summon the Hoplomus, attack for 700, tag out, go grab, I believe, Bestiari, just blow up another back row. Keep trying to keep him off those back row. Keep him off those like big chain turns, with the accumulative fortune. Set War Chariot, pass. This is his second turn where he is draw locked. You'll notice Secret Barrel, not very good when you burn all your cards. Threatening Roar, that can keep him alive for another turn, but alas, he can't play around the Lava Golem. He is going to summon the Cyber Valley here, and he is going to, lose because he doesn't use the Threatening Roar. He knows we have War Chariot, so if I go attack, he should use the Threatening Roar because he needs to survive this turn. But if he goes for Cyber Valley activate, I can just War Chariot, and then, yeah, Bestiari replay attack, and that's that. So, we should win. And like I said, he had Lava Golem the whole game. I asked him afterwards if he had Lava Golem the whole game, and he said he did, and that's why you play around it. And that's that. That's how you play Gladiator Beast, ladies and gentlemen. I think this deck is sick. I need to practice it versus Blackwings and Hero Beat more. I haven't gotten enough games versus that. But I do think that this deck has a place in today's metagame. Like, I think, like, a lot of the decks are just getting too cheeky. You know, we got to check them a little bit. We got to get a fucking Heraclinos. We got to get a Ready Ari. You can't be just doing all the crazy graveyard stuff, all right? You know, you can't just be doing, like, turbo draw stuff when I can make Heraclinos. You know what I mean? We gotta balance out the metagame. Nature is healing, and the only way to do that is for more people to play this deck, in my opinion. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed these things, if you enjoyed these replays, if you enjoyed this deck, if you hate this deck, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.